Welcome to Gamers of Summer. This is Paul Franz of the SFU On Call podcast that we are streaming live from Gamers of Summer. Try not to say winter, because that'll happen in a few more months from now. So any of you in the area of Harrisburg want to come and join us in February. It's on February 14th, 15th, and 16th. Obviously, one of those is Valentine's Day. So take your honey out on Saturday and come on Sunday and Monday. So that's a quick blurb for them. What I'm going to be doing today, because no one wanted to play Starfleet Battles. Sorry. So I'm going to do something which I I said earlier this week, i.e. a few days ago, that I didn't want to do. And I screwed up. I brought quite a few games, but I wanted to show you and demo Federation Commander. Problem? I forgot the ship cards. The ship cards are now sitting at my home, lovely, tucked away in their little folders to keep them organized and so forth. But they're not here. That makes it hard to play with them. Another issue is since I looked for my miniatures, I could not find my miniatures. So I do have my demo miniatures, though one of them broke. So I'm using one of my backups, which is unpainted. So hopefully you'll still enjoy it, even though it's unpainted. But so we're going to move onward to SFB. What we're going to do starting off with is energy allocation. I know energy allocation usually is not the first thing to start off with, but I figured that's the easiest thing to start, so you don't have to worry about movement, you don't have to worry about tactics, you don't have to worry about side slips, turns, all that kind of thing. Charging, well, you have to worry about charging weapons, but it should be relatively simple. It's going to be a classic Klingon versus Federation battle. I'm using the tournament ships, which are basically the same as what's in the real game, just tiny little tweaks because they're supposed to be matched up to be as close to even as possible. Obviously, that will never occur. We have something in the tournament called rock, paper, scissors. It's just a chart that we've come up with. What do we think is the best? Who has the best chance? Like, if it's going to be an Orion versus an Andromedan, the Orion has a 90% chance of beating the Andromedan. That kind of thing, and it has, to be honest, there is no there's no data. This is just what from experienced players, they feel like it, and everyone's agreed to it, and everyone who plays in tournaments agreed to that kind of RPS and how that looks right. That looks right, So hopefully you'll enjoy this as I give you a quick demo of Starfleet Battles. Obviously, some of you, this is going to look kind of boring at the begin with. And that's because one thing with SFB is that before you start your turn, you have to plan what you want to do for your turn. Unlike Federation Commander, you have to do kind of like that. You have to set your speed, and then you have a little bit of tweaking that you can do during the turn, which you use additional energy. But when it comes to Starfleet Battles, you have to pre-allocate most of your energy. There's in advanced rules, you actually can do what's called reserve power, so you can actually increase your speed. Can't decrease it, but you can increase your speed or do some contingency planning for certain weapons. But for most part, under SFB rules, you have to pre-allocate everything at the beginning of the turn, so you have to have a plan of what you plan on doing. What do you think your opponent's going to do and what you're going to do to react to what your opponent is going to do. So we're going to start this really simple. We're going to start with the energy allocation. And to do the energy allocation, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the SSDs. These are the SSDs. I'm going to just tip this up so that you guys can get a good view of them. Okay? Now, let's start with I'm going to put down the Federation. I'm just going to show you the Klingon. Okay, with the Klingon, it's a basic size class 1 ship. What's that's not size class 1. It's actually size class 3. Movement cost 1 ship. That's what I meant to say. With a movement cost 1 ship, what you got is the cost of 1 point of movement or speed, because number of actual mountain movement you do for a turn, it doesn't actually equal your speed at that moment in time, because you can do an advanced, it's called mid-turn speed change, so you can start like a speed 15 and then increase it to speed 25. So, but that cost is going to be different than just 15 or 25. But to begin with, and that's what we're doing at the beginning, which is the speed, not the cost for speed is equivalent to the amounts of power you put into it. That's why it's moving cost 1. And I'll just go over the SSD here. We have, of course, we have power, which is at the beginning EA. That's going to be that's the first thing you got to do. You have to look to see how much power do you currently have on the ship, because obviously in combat you might lose some power. So, okay, if we have left warp engines, and that's going to be 15. Got 3 across and 5 up, so that's 15. If you want to, you can count it individually, but all we need to do is do a little math and we're good. So that's 15, and right warp engine, same size, 3 by 15, so 15 and 15 is 30, so you have 30 warp power. And that's how much warp you can use. When it comes to Starfleet battles, you can use only 1 point of impulse, because we actually have here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 impulse, and we actually have 5, but this is emergency impulse. If you notice, this is part of the boom. Unless this boom gets separated, you can't use that engine for movement. You can use it for power, but not movement. That's one of the special things when it comes to Klingons. So the Klingon has 30 warp, 5 impulse, and then you have APR, which their reactor power is what they are. So, and this produces power, plain power, not warp energy, just regular energy, and that's 4. So you got a total of 39 points of power for the Klingon. Now, we might as well go through, while we got the Klingons shown here, what we're going to do is we're going to go through the weapons. It has 3 phaser 1s up here. See, it's PH1. That stands for phaser 1. And you have, right over here, you have the chart for the phaser 1. And as you see here, it says forward extended arc. A forward extended arc means that it has an arc that basically goes out shield number 5 and shield number 3 here, and that's the arc of the web, goes all around to the front of the ship. Unfortunately, I don't have the thing that shows you the arcs. I'm sorry, I did not plan for that, and I should have. I apologize. So they're really good arcs. Then we have phaser 1s, which are left front, left. Left front is basically straight ahead. It goes hex, that's straight ahead, and then goes out shield number 6 directly out. That's left front. And the left is basically out shield number 6 and shield number 5 straight out. I forgot to mention that Starfleet Battles is a hex-based game. And being a hex-based game, that's the arcs. And if you notice, there's 6 shields, so each shield is is akin to one of the hex sides. So that makes it the easiest to actually do. So, and then we have phaser. Oh, I forgot. Right rear. Right rear is again out the rear shield number 4, and shield number 3, which is again this angle here. It's going to be easier to see when I actually show you on the actual map itself. So, with that, because those, and you got a phaser 3 here. The phaser 3s are right here. The chart, if you notice, the numbers are quite smaller. They're meant for defensive fire. That's why they're called defensive phasers. Then you have, of course, these are called waist phasers. That's just a technical term for the Klingon because they're on the waist of the actual part of the ship. Left, rear. Again, this, and that. So it goes arc here all the way around to directly rear. And you have the same thing for over here, which is about on the right hand side for both phaser 3 and phaser 1s, and these are phaser 2s, which are not. The Klingons are known for their phaser 2s when they first started going, and then later on they actually figured out what the Federation was doing and upgrade the phaser 1s. So, and then we have drones. So drones are basically, they're missiles that are launched from drone racks. And then you can toss them at your opponent, and it costs you no energy, which is always a good thing because that means you can use that energy that you're not using for that weapon to actually do it against to either protect yourself, or you actually can use it for being speed, or you can actually apply it to your weapons. Now, in Starfleet battles, that's real quick, which is about when it comes to the phasers have what's called a phaser capacitor. That's equivalent to the phaser. Like phaser 1s and phaser 2s have cost 1 point of capacitor power to fire it. Therefore, it costs 1 point of energy to fill it. And phaser 3s are half a point of power. So now the capacitor is unfortunately, I guess in some cases, is it actually attached to the phaser itself. So if you lose a phaser, then you lose the capacitance that phaser also gives you. So I forgot one other thing, which is, of course, also here you've got batteries. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's the fifth one. And that's the fifth one. So there's 5 batteries. That's like any other battery, but it's you can use it for power for your turn. Usually you don't use it as part of your pre-allocation when you do your actually energy allocation for the turn. Excuse me. So, also one thing to note on the SSD is right here. This is the turn mode. So the turn mode is a turn mode B. That means it's a pretty good turn mode because there's turn mode AA, which is excellent. Turn mode A, turn mode B, C, D, E, and F, and G. The larger, not the larger number. The more, G is the worst. AA is the best when it comes to turn mode. And the turn mode defines when you have a certain speed, what is your turn mode for that speed. So in the case of turn mode B, if you're going speed 15, you have to move 3 hexes forward before you can turn. So that's the whole idea of, if you're going speedy in a car, you can't make a right-hand turn, very, very good without wrecking. Well, they actually have the same idea in here in Starfleet battles. So that's what overall, and of course, actually Klingons have what's called an ADRAC. The ADRAC is for anti-drones, to knock down drones from your opponent. So that's the Klingon. And what we'll do is, let's go over the Federation. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down those numbers on the energy allocation sheet, and I will show you the sheets when I'm completed. Here's the Federation, same thing. 6 shields. They got the phaser, different arcs. Phaser 1, the front half, which means here to here. So it's the front half of the ship. We got these, which are really cool. These are, there it is. Phaser 1s, which are 360-degree phaser 1s, which means they can fire any direction whatsoever. And same for these phaser 3s. Then we have right front right and left front right, and left front left, and which I have described to you those just a little bit earlier. So, now we got photons. Oh, I forgot to describe that the Klingon had disruptors, but these have photons. I'm sure you've all seen the photon torpedoes launching from the Enterprise, firing at their opponents. Going forward and trying to strike the opponent, and that's what they have now. One thing, big difference between the photon torpedoes and other weapons, they require the use of warp power. Now, if you see, we have 30 warp here. Now we have what's called AWRs here. This and here, that's 4 AWRs. Now, these are reactors, but these reactors, unlike regular reactors, they produce actually warp power. And big surprise, that since they have photons which require warp power, that they're going to have a reactor which also produces warp power. And that warp power cannot be used for movement, but it can be used for charging a weapon which requires warp energy. So, sorry for that. If you heard my watch go off, and actually I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to put that on Do Not Disturb, so I should not ever hear that while I am recording. I'm streaming live from Gamers of Summer. Now, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put this down. And so I'm going to now, off camera, just because it's kind of awkward to try to do it on camera, which is I'm going to put down the energy amounts into the energy allocation form, and I will show you the energy allocation form once I am done. So I see right now I've got, that's an energy allocation form. You'll see that have different kinds of energy from warp to impulse to reactor. I'm going to put that right now, and that's going to be warp engine, and that's the first line. So that's going to be 30. Now impulse is going to be 4 this is for the Fed. So I'm just going to put this up here. It says Fed, and then for reactor power, actually impulse power, I think it only has 4. Yeah, it's 4. And 4 for reactor power, so the total power is 38. Battery power available, we start of almost every Federation. SFB has the ability to have what's called statuses. And when it comes to starting a scenario, you can have status 0, 1, 2, or 3. Status 3 is where you're ready for battle. There's a scenario called surprised reversed, where the whole idea is that the Romulans are massing at the borders, a fleet which is going to go and invade the Fed space. Now, so it's going to be a surprise attack. Now, what happens with that scenario is that the Feds, they attack the Romulans. Now, the Romulans were not ready for battle. So their status is, I think it was either 0 or 1. So very slowly, they don't have any of their weapons charged. I think the batteries are status 1, your batteries are charged. Status 0, your batteries are not charged. But so there's different ways of starting a scenario. Because we're simplifying it, and actually in terms of rules, you actually have status 3. You start with status 3. Everyone's ready for battle. So, moving onward, okay, one thing I have to pay for fire control. Fire control allows me to have active fire control, so I actually can control my weapons and actually kind of active scanning of the area and be able to target an opponent. The only time you ever want not to actually have active fire control at all is if you plan on cloaking for the entire turn. You might want to save energy by not having active fire control. Now, most people will still have active fire control when they're cloaking, because you never know. They might actually have to decloak in the middle of the turn, in which case they're in big trouble if they don't have active fire control. Okay, life support. Well, you have to pay for life support because life support is required for all the crew to live. If you don't pay for life support, your crew dies. So, and activate shields is 2. Now, one thing about Starfleet battles is when it comes to shields, you can have two modes. There's full mode and there's minimum mode. Minimum mode only costs 1, at least on these size class ships. And that takes, if you notice those big box shields, because they're like 30 in the front half, 30 on shield number 1, 30 in shield number 2 and number 6, 24 in shield number 3, 4, and 5. Well, if you turn it down to minimum shield mode, as in you're not paying full power for it, all those shields become 5-box shields. It saves you power, and in some cases, in the middle of a scenario, it might be advisable. Most of the time, you have minimum shields because in some cases the scenario calls for it, i.e., you're fighting in a certain terrain where full shields make no sense. Now, one thing to remember about minimum shields and full shields, you got to remember the first 5 points of damage against a shield, that's against your minimum shields. So if you had 5 points of damage on a shield that's full, so it started 30, went down to 25. If you switch your shields, and that's all your shields, it's all one deal. You can't say, oh, my front ones are going to be minimum, my back ones are going to be max, we're going to be full. No, they're all either all full or all minimum. So in the case of shield number 2, that I say it's down to 25 from 30, and you go put your shields down to minimum, there is no shield. Your shield is down on shield number 2, which is not a good thing, because if your shield is down, any damage will come into your ship, and actually you'll take physical damage to your ship. Okay, moving onward and forward. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to do something simple. Okay, for the weapons, I'm going to do 2 points of power, 2 points of warp. I'm going to do two points of warp for second turn arming. That's just for an example for the Federation. Now, okay, so far we've used 8 points for your photons, and as I said, your phaser capacitors are fully charged. So on weapon status 3, they're fully charged. You don't have to spend any energy to recharge them at this point. Well, if you use your phaser, when you fire your phasers, after that, then you need to recharge your phasers, especially if you want to fire them again. Now, obviously, here's the thing: is all the capacitors are connected. So they say you fire you have your capacitor because you got 10 phasers all across the ship, and they're phaser ones. This is a simple example. Then you have 10 capacitor. Now you fired, say you fired 2 phasers on turn 1. So you have 8 capacitor on turn 2 without doing anything, without recharging it all. So when you go on to turn 2, you can fire those same 2 phasers if you want to. But the capacitor, since it's a shared capacitor, you can actually take it from that capacitor grid, and now you're down to 6 points of power that's available in that capacitor itself, which is made up of all the phasers. So it's nice in that category. Now, obviously, you can't keep going on with that. So at a certain point, you'll not be able to fire your phasers again because you have nothing in your capacitor. So I'm not going to be charging my phasers this time. So if I'm charging my photons, so that's going to be 8. Got 2 points for shields, that's going to be 10. 2 more for life support and active fire control, so it's going to be 12. So I got 38 points of power. Let's go with, okay, I'm going to reinforce my shield number 1 for 10. Okay, so that's going to be 12 plus 10 is 22. So that gives me 16 points of power. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to take all 16 points of power, and I'm going to have, so my movement is 16, because again, the Federation, that one actually has, again, a movement cost of 1. Now, the one thing I forgot to mention when I was showing you the Federation is it has a turn mode of D versus turn mode of B. That the Klingon is a little more nimble, and therefore it can turn things. So in the case of the Federation, you know how I had the example of speed 15? Well, speed 15 with a turn mode of D, you're not having a turn mode of 3, you have a turn mode of 4. So in theory, the Klingon can turn in, if both of them are going the same speed 15, the Fed has to take a longer arc versus the Klingon, which can take a shorter arc. And so if they're going side by side, if they're going like this, the Klingon can stay inside the Federation, which is, again, it just shows how nimble it is. Okay, with that, that's total power is 38. And let me just count. I forgot to count the phasers for the Fed. Let's count them, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then the phaser 3s are 50% each, so there's 2 phaser 3s, so the total of 9 points in the capacitor for the Federation. So now let's do the same thing for the Klingon. So the Klingon, let me write that down so I make sure I can tell. Okay, so it has warp power of 30. It's got impulse of 5. Sorry, impulse of 5. Yep. Reactor power, not reactor warp. Reactor warp is only for the Feds, and that's going to be 39. Now, if you might ask, well, why don't the Klingons also have warp reactor power? 1, it's more expensive. 2, they have no need for it, because I said that the warp power produced by reactors cannot be used for movement. So unless you have a weapon that requires warp, it's kind of pointless. And later on, and I won't go through this in this demo, which is basically repair costs. During a battle, you can repair units that have been destroyed using what's called CDR, continuous damage repair. Each ship has a damage control rating, which they can use to repair their ship, and they can repair up to a certain rating. So AWRs take a lot more points to repair than APRs. So, and of course, I'm assuming if you're thinking on an economic scale, and that is, so the AWR will probably cost more when it comes to economics than an APR. So there's no reason to spend that additional money when you get no benefit. So again, okay, 5 available, life support 1, active fire control 1, weapons. What the heck? Let's charge disruptors. Now disruptors, in standard mode, disruptors cost 2 points of energy to fire. So I'm planning on firing my disruptors this turn, so I'm going to charge them to cost 2 points of energy. Now, that's one big difference between the disruptor in the Klingons and the photon torpedo in the Feds. The photon torpedo takes 2 turns of 2 points of warp energy to load it in standard mode. You can use additional energy to do what's called overloaded mode. At the moment, we're not going to actually worry about overloads and so forth. We're just going to, because this is just a demo, I just want to show you how things work. So, disruptors, 2 points per. Again, 2 points to activate the shields on the Klingon, because I know the Feds would love to have it so the Klingons. I'm sorry, Captain, we forgot to charge our shields. You know, I'm sure that the Feds would absolutely love that. It's like, oh, thank you, you're dead. You know. So now let's count that all up. But basically, I'm going to also put 10 points on shield number 1 because it was going facing my opponent. Now, there's something called also general reinforcement. There's specific and general reinforcement. Specific is for you specifically allocate for that shield, and that will have it so 1 point of damage per point of energy is reduced. So if you had if you get hit with 14 points of damage on this case shield number 1, then you only have 4 points, which gets past the reinforcement and hits the shield. Okay, so you have you'll have 4 points of damage against that shield. And with that, okay, well, the Klingon has a little extra energy, so it's going to move speed 17. So I will give me a sec, and I will switch over and actually show you these lovely angelications to show you what they look like. Now here's what it looks like. 30 points of power. For the warp, all the way down to 39 total points of power. 1 life, 1 for active fire control. You got the disruptors, 2 points per. Then 2 points for activating the shields, and then 10 points for shield number 1 for specific reinforcement. Oh yeah, general reinforcement. I forgot to mention that, which is for each 2 points of energy that you put for general reinforcement, it blocks 1 point of damage. Now, you say, well, why would you ever want to do that? Well, there's one minor issue with specific reinforcement. If your shield is down, it has 0 boxes left, you can't use specific reinforcement. It doesn't work. You have to use general reinforcement. Also, the beauty of general reinforcement is that you don't have to worry about the direction that or what shield is being fired upon. Because of general reinforcement, it's all around the ship. That's why it's less effective when it comes to energy to damage prevention. So with that, yeah. So the specific reinforcement, it's best if you can guess where your opponent's going to fire. You can have it so your opponent goes against that shield. Personally, I rarely at the start of the game, I rarely do specific reinforcement because I'm usually clueless. I usually guess wrong so badly. I usually don't do that. Well, unless I have some extra energy left over for what I plan on doing. And of course, last but not least, down here is 17. So it's energy for movement 17. Now it's a movement class ship, as I said again, previously, and that is so that'll be going to 17. Speed 17. Moving onward to the Klingon, so the Federation. Again, this one has 38 points of power. It's got 5 battery, which none of it's being used. 1 support, 1 for life support, 1 for active fire control. We got 2 for 2. And I put 2 W. W means warp for charging the photon torpedoes. 2 activate shields, 10 again for specific reinforcement, and 16 for movement. So it's going to move a speed of 16. Now, here's just a quick thing about speed and movement. Now, SFB is unique, and I've never seen this before. I've never seen this in any other game I've ever played. And that is that SFB uses what I term as proportional movement. What is proportional movement, you may say? Well, unlike things, and I'm showing my age here, Silent Death. For those of you who lived through, the 90s? I think it was the 90s that Silent Death came out. Where basically you have movement points, and for each turn you go dun 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 dun. If you have 5 movement points, you just move your ship 5 hexes immediately. Well, SFB is not like that. SFB has this impulse chart with a max speed is 32. 32, you can move every single impulse because there's 32 impulses. Now, removing like speed 16, you move every other impulse. So what the proportional movement tries to do, and it does quite successfully in my mind, obviously it's a chart, so things don't quite work out perfectly, But that's one of those quirkiness that has to be in when it comes to movement. Because with 24, it's kind of nice even number. You see that it goes 2. Okay, don't move, move for 2. Don't move for 3. Don't move for 3. Don't move for 3. Keep this going down. Now, for 21, don't move for 1. Don't move for 2. Don't move for 2. Don't move for 2. Don't move 2 for 2. 2. Move 2 for 2, and keep going. Now, actually, this works out pretty good. But there's some idiosyncrasies with odd movement and even movement. It makes things interesting because of you can have it so that even though the person they're moving slower than the person, you can actually gain on them for one impulse. But the whole idea is like if you're in a car, this is a really good example, which is if you're in a car, you have two cars by itself. One's going to go speed 15 miles an hour, and the other one's going 30 miles an hour. If you start off with that, they're going to start right next to each other. But slowly, the speed 30 car is going to go farther, pull away from the speed 15 car. The car is going 15 miles an hour. So that's the whole idea of proportional movement, is to kind of show that, have a game mechanic that actually will present that and simulate that. So I thought that's one of those cool things of SFB. And this, the impulse chart. So depending upon your speed, you move on different impulses. So that's that. I'm going to show you one other quick thing, which is this is the damage allocation chart. So when you actually have internals, then you roll the dice and you have different things. Now the underscores here and the bolds, those get hit once and then you cross them off, and then you move on to the next column, and then you keep going over, and different things get hit on different items, different types, damage types, and then you get to choose where it gets damaged on your ship. So that's a quick thing of the damage allocation. Now, okay, so what we're going with that, let me move this so that I can show you the map, and let me see if I can. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it here. I know this is not the best angle, and I apologize, because I'm sure what you want is an overhead angle, but I haven't figured out how to do that yet, so I apologize. So, okay, we have. Let me bring this up, and where is it? Oh, there it is. Okay, we got the nice impulse chart. So we're going to make it easy. Okay, 16 and 17 are marked that I'm going to be moving. So impulse 1, nobody moves. As you can see, they're just dashes. So okay, impulse 2, 6. Okay, now since this is SFB, the slower speed moves first. So there's another thing about SFB. You don't roll for initiative. Initiative is defined by basically two things. One is going to be your speed. The slower speed automatically goes first, for the most part. There's special rules when it comes to like shuttles and drones and things like that, and that comes to order of precedence when it comes to movement. But the order of precedence, slower speed for ships always moves first. So in this case, since the Fed is moving slower, it moves first. So it's going to go straight ahead, one impulse, one movement, and then the Klingon's going to decide he's going to come closer. So now they're closer. And actually, let's count the range where we are at. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Now, that's another minor thing when it comes to SFB. That is, Range 0 is within the same hex. Range 1 is the hex right beside that ship. So between the two units, if they're one hex between, in this case, 095 is where the Klingon is. 0906, if there's a unit there, let's say the Fed, that's range 1. So in that case, so that's how it works. I know some games that's considered range 2, range 1 is considered the same hex. So that's SFB when it comes to ranges. Okay, so next impulse. Okay, nobody moves. Impulse 4. Both move. Okay, so Fed moves forward, and so the Klingon. I'll just show you. See, they both have movement. They have a number, and that tells you how many moves it has moved since the beginning of the turn. Okay, next impulse, nobody moves. Impulse 6, they both move. Okay, Fed moves first, Klingon moves next. Okay, they both move 3. Now, given their speeds, now the Klingon is a kind of a disadvantage to this because they're both moving a turn mode of 4. But it is what it is. Okay, so what I'm going to do is the Fed then impulse 7, nobody moves. Impulse 8, they both move. So moved and moved. Now both of them have moved 4 impulses, four movements straight ahead. That means at this point, if they want to, either one can turn. So that's next impulse. Impulse 9, nobody moves. Impulse 10. Fed moves first, and then the Klingon. So what I'm going to do is actually, the Fed's going to, I might not want to go straight into him. So he's going to go turn and keep going. Now, impulse 11, nobody moves. Impulse 12, they both move. Now again, the Fed has to move first. Now there's one kind of movement which is called a side slip. Now there is a side slip mode. Side slip mode is like a turn mode. Side slip mode is that if you side slip once, you have to move straight ahead once, and then side slip, and then you can side slip again. So the benefit of side slips is that you can maintain range on an opponent when it comes. In this case, what I want to do is the Fed wants to side slip away from the Klingon, and the Klingon is here. Now, in that case, basically, they both moved this way. So the Fed was able to maintain the same range from last impulse to this impulse. Okay, 13, that's nobody moves. 14, Fed moves, and then Klingon moves. Now, the Fed's so far moved 3, so okay, let's go on. Impulse 15, nobody moves. Impulse 16, Fed moves, and then the Klingon moves. So it's going to side slip again. I want to stay out of the range. Now the range currently is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So there's still range 11. Now for the Fed, if you look here on the photon torpedo chart, range 11, because it's not started for proxy, it's a standard, 1 to 2. 1, 2, which means at a die roll of D6, you have a 1/3 chance. That means you have to roll a 1 or 2, because it's 1 through 2. This one is 1 to, if you get the range 8, is 1 through 3, which is 1, 2, or 3. So it's 50% chance of hitting, because it's a 2 hit versus, photons and disruptors both are the same weapon, which is they have a 2 hit roll. Versus phasers, depends upon what you roll, you get different damage. So at this range, I don't think the Fed is going to fire, and same for the Klingon. You know, he's 1 to 4, which is pretty darn good. Disruptors have pretty good to hit, and again they're standard. So now the thing is, it only puts 3 points of damage versus the photon. So move it one forward. Now this is Impulse 17. Now Impulse 17 is something unique. If you look at it, Impulse 17, you'll see that 17 moves, but 16 does not. So the Klingon goes dun 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 dun, and it's closed in to one closer. Now this is where there's goofy things. Guess what? The Klingon doesn't move this impulse, but the Fed does. So as I said, it's one of those quirky little things. So the Fed is actually moved for movement, so it can actually turn back. So it's going to turn. Guess what? This is going to be an ugly, ugly battle. So he comes in, ready to fire. Right now, this is what's called center line. They're going right down the hex line, from one ship to the other. So, and there's a range of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So they're still out there a bit, and definitely the Fed would not want to fire at this range. So next impulse. Now guess what? 17 moves, and this is the way it's going to be for the rest of the turn. Where 17 moves and 16 moves and 16 moves and 17 moves. You know, they're going to go back and forth. Okay, now we're at to range 8. So still range 8. If you look at the phaser chart, as you can see right here, range 8 are still kind of not good. You want to get at least the range 5 before you fire your phasers. So, okay, you're going 16. So the Fed's going to want to stay center line because that's where it can get most of its phasers available to fire at the Klingon. So next impulse. Okay, we're down to 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7. Okay, they're still going to close. Oh no, they're closing. Klingon, range 6. Oh, this is gonna be ugly. This is gonna be ugly. And now the Fed, he moves closer. Oh, let's see who's got the guts. This is the game of chicken at the moment. It's game of chicken. Let's see who turns first. So, dun, 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 dun. So the Fed. I was just doing this, was just checking the Fed. The Fed wants to get into at least range 4. You know that. A range 4, you got 1 to 4 chance. You got 2/3 chance of hitting with your photon torpedoes, which will do 8 points of damage. Ain't that beautiful? Ain't that beautiful? Okay, next impulse. The Klingon moves. Now the Klingons go. He's going. Oh, should I really do something as silly as going face to face with the Fed? This might not be a good thing. So the Klingon, he's gonna side slip. So maintains the range 1, 2. Actually, he still closes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, he maintains the range of range 5. So he's still pretty good. He's gonna wait for the Fed. He's gonna wait for the Fed. And the Fed closes range 4. Dun 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 dun. And guess what? The Fed's gonna fire. We got some beautiful dice here. And what we're gonna do is, the Fed is going to fire. He's going to fire the 4 photons, and he's got with him. He can't fire these on the right side, but they can fire these on the left side. So he's going to fire 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 phasers. So he's going to fire 6 phasers and 4 photons. So let's okay. Let's roll the photons. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna roll it on here. Now, see, we got a 5 and we got a 1. That means hit with 1 photon. Okay, so 8 points of damage. Let's roll again. Unfortunately, the luck of the dice has struck, and he only hit with 1 of 4 photons. Oh boy, the Feds might be a little in trouble. Now we got the 6 phaser ones. Okay, let's go with 2. We got another 5 and 6. Okay, 5 and 6 at range 4. 5 and 6, that's 3 and a 2. See, I'll show you here, which is right here, range 4, 5 and a 6, a 3 and a 2. So that's going to be an additional 5. Another 2 phasers. It rolls a 2 and a 4. So a 2 and a 4, range 4, you got 5 and 4 is a total of 9, and 2 more phaser ones. A 1 and a 2 at range 4, that's a 5 and a 5. That's additional 10. So total up, you got 19, 24, 32 points of damage. That's a good bit of damage. So now for the Klingon, now here's the thing. Okay, because of here's shield number 1 goes out. Okay, whoops, pardon me. Shield number 1 goes out this hex line all the way here, and this hex line all the way here. And so the Fed is within those hex lines. Therefore, it's hitting shield number 1. Shield number 1, as you recall, has 10 points of reinforcement. So we take the 32 points of damage, subtract out 10, so you got 22 points of damage. Now this is the 30-box shield, so you can take 22 points of damage off it, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's 22 total, because it's 2 boxes of straight across. So 11 times 2 is 22. So this is what the Klingon's front shield looks like. So, well, next impulse. Guess what? The Klingon moves. So, Klingon moves closer. Now, here's the thing. The Fed doesn't have anything to fire at it. So the Klingon can do the 1 of 2 things. They can say, oh, I'm pretty close. I think I'm going to fire here. Or he can wait. Well, the Klingon's gutsy. He's gutsy. He decides, I'm going to wait. I think the Fed's chicken. So, okay, next impulse 26. Guess what happens? The Fed moves. The Fed goes, I'm out of here. So he turns. Guess what? The Klingon was right. The Fed is chicken. So he's running. He's running. Now, still, the Fed has no phasers, no weapons that he can fire at the Klingon, because the only ones he has are on the right side. The right side is not an arc. So next impulse. Oh, the Klingon closes in. Oh, I'm going to close in even further. So he's going to go, I'm going to go right here. So the Klingon is at range 2. Range 2, the Klingon goes, this is close enough. I do not want to chance doing something really dumb. Got to be prudent in battle, not foolish. So Klingon has 4 disruptors. So let's look at the chart. Range 2. At range 2, there's a 1, if you look here, he's got a 1 to 5 to hit. That's standards, and that will do 4 points of damage. So that, and then he's got. Let me look at this. He's got the 2 phaser. He got the 3 phaser ones up here. He's got the 1 phaser 1 over here, and since it's right on the left side, he has the 2 phaser 2s. So he's going to fire the 4 phaser 1s and the 2 phaser 2s at the Fed. So let's first do the disruptors. I roll 2 1s. So with 2 1s, that's 8 points of damage. Wow, that's pretty good. And we got another 1 and a 6. 6 misses, so we only have another 4. So let's roll the 4 phaser 1s. 2 of them. Okay, we got a 1 and a 5. 1 is 5 points of damage, and 5 is 3, so that's another 8. Another 2 phaser 1s. A 4 and a 6. 4 and a 6. 4 is 4 points of damage. 6 is 2, so that's 6 more. And of course, then we have the 2 phaser 2s. That's a little. They're a little different. The range 2. For phaser 2s here, 2. Okay, we got a 3 and a 6. 3 is a 4, and 6 is a 3. So a total of 7. So the phaser 2s didn't do too bad. So let's total that all up. 8 plus 4 is 12, plus 8 is 20. And then 20 plus 13, because 6 and 7 is 13, that's 33. 33 points of damage. Now, here's the problem. The Fed has a little difficulty. If you notice here, we got this hex side to this hex side. Well, right here, that's shield number 5. That's this shield for the Fed. So the Fed has no reinforcement on that shield. So now I know this is because I've played it enough. This is 24 boxes. So we're going to mark off 24 boxes. So we got 24 points of damage. So 33 minus 24 is a big 9. So there's actually 9 internals. The Fed has taken internal damage. Oh, this is bad. This is bad. Now, okay, so let's flip this over to the damage allocation side. Okay, let me erase it from the last damage allocation I did, which looks like it was a lot of them. A lot of damage. Okay, so we have a total of 9. So let's. This chart works. I'm not sure if you noticed that, and I forgot to point it out. It's 2d6, and so obviously the most probable die roll is a 7. So 7 would be cargo, but there's no cargo. So actually, I'm going to mark that off right now because there is no cargo in the Fed. So it'll be forward hull first, and then if you keep rolling 7, that's the forward hull. After you get rid of all the forward hull, then it goes in the battery, and center warp, and so forth. But this is dice, so that can be anything. It's the most probable it's going to be a 7 of all the numbers, but not probable of I forgot what the percentage is for rolling a 7 with 2d6. Sorry, I don't have that kind of thing memorized. So first roll. Roll is a 7. Guess what? That's a forward hull. So let's go over here. Let's go over to the Fed. Mark off 1 forward hull box. Okay. Number 2. Roll 4. Oh, that's a phaser. And as I showed you earlier, see, 4 is a phaser. So phaser, mark that off because of it's a one-time hit. So now with SFB, that weapon, you get to choose. The Fed gets to choose what weapon it actually wants to get hit. So, but it has to be within arc of the damage. So he fired from here. So what he's going to decide on doing is he's going to go through phaser 1 for left front left. So because most probably he's not going to want to have the down shield, so he's going to take the left front left. Okay, third die roll. We have an 8. Oh, an 8. That's an aft hull. So right over here, where is? Oh, it's marked rear hull when it comes to classic other terms. Okay, so that's 3 points of damage. We roll now a 5. Oh boy, that's not good. The Fed got a right warp. That means, oh boy, he's got one less power to deal with. So that's right warp. That one's done. Next one is another 8. Now 8 again, a rear hull. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 5 damage. Now we have 4 more. Next one is I rolled a 6. A 6 is a forward hull. Fed has lots of forward hull. Next one is another 6. It's another forward hull. And I think this is number 8. So, oh, he rolls a 10. Oh boy. That's not good. That's not good. I rolled 10. That's a phaser. Uh-oh. There goes another phaser. Goodbye, phaser. So, left phaser, and I'll take that one too. Now, that's a call cricket. That's 8. Let's count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I got one more internal. What the Klingon really wants, is that torpid. Come on. What did we get? We get a 9. Well, it's not as good as that, but guess what? The Fed's going to slow down some more. That's left warp. So left warp, and let's mark off a left warp box. So now, this the way SFB works. That damage, when it comes to power produced, does not take effect until the end of the turn, and then when you do your next allocation for next turn, then you at that point will have to change the amount of energy. So and move onward and forward. So there's what the Federation currently looks like. It's got a few internals, 9 points of internals, lost 2 phasers already. That's not good. Also, more importantly, lost a shield. So you can't do a specific reinforcement against that shield, and therefore you want to try to keep that shield away from your Klingon opponent. Well, that might be difficult. Okay, so moving onward and forward, the Fed, he's going to go straight ahead. He's going to say, I'm going to try to get away from this guy. Get impulse 29. You got the Klingon moving. Guess what? Klingon goes, hey, I'm going to chase after him. So he goes here. Now, you would think the Klingon would want to fire. Now, this is one of those quirky things with SFB. If you look here, 1, the Fed moves next. 2, if you notice also, right here, the Klingon is right here. The Klingon is at the hex line, hex divider. So that's called the shield boundary. So according to SFB rules, if you move, since the Fed's the next one to move, what you would do is, and this is only temporary to figure out when it comes to what arc that any direct fire weapon will be applied to, you would move it directly forward, even though the Fed might not be doing that. You move directly forward, so he moves directly forward in case that means, see, it'd be here and here. So actually, instead of being on shield number 5, it'll be shield number 4. Wah, 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 wah for the Klingon. Sorry, Mr. Klingon. You're just gonna be just too little, too late on that move. So the next impulse, which is impulse 30, well, the Fed, again, he moves. And where is he going to move? Well, if he's smart at all, he's going to move directly forward because he wants to keep that down shield away from the Klingon. And then the Klingon, okay, he moves on impulse 31. He moves by himself again. So at this point, what would the Klingon want to do?
One thing I like is it has the rectangular tables. The round ones are nice, but unless you have a game like that,
I think he actually would want to
it's kind of hard. I have found it to be a little bit hard to play around game.
go straight ahead. You want to stay on shield number 4, and try to chase them, chase the feds. Because here's the one thing that the Fed now is in trouble. Why? Because the Fed now has to charge his photons. Which means he won't be able to fire them next turn. The only thing he has is phasers. And last but not least, of course, is the Fed moves on Impulse 32. Everybody moves. That's the one thing. There's funny parts about Starfleet battles. Impulse 32, everybody moves. And the Klingon is just going to side slip. Now, the one thing I forgot to mention about this, and I forgot to mark it on here, but I'm pretty sure the Klingons. Okay, let me just look at this. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. The Klingon, from the looks of it, is basically he fired on like 4 impulses ago. Well, when it comes to turn breaks, the weapons can only be fired. Okay, all weapons can only be fired after 8 impulses. So, if it's over a turn break, since he fired, I think, on impulse 28. That means Klingon will not be able to fire again until impulse 4 of next turn. So, unfortunately, he won't be able to fire immediately on impulse 1 on the Fed. So the Fed can prepare for an attack. And if I was the Fed, I'd probably reinforce my rear shield, because I'm sure the Klingon wants to just do that, and you can actually just keep going with that rear shield facing him. And if you have it reinforced, you're good for at least a little bit. Obviously, he's pretty darn close. He's probably going to might be able to do even worse damage than before. Of course, the Klingon might also want to do a little reinforcement himself, because the problem is he's going to be shield number 6 on the Fed, is facing the Fed. Now, if he tries to follow him, he's going to turn. He's going to have that weak shield. So the Fed now can still fire some phasers upon him. So I think I'm going to end it there. Just wanted to show you a quick demo of SFB and how it works. I'm hoping that y'all enjoyed it. And with that, all I say is have a good day.